Focus on B, the video series where I spent about 20 or so minutes playing and talking about a game that I've been thinking about. This is Mega Man X Free. If you know what? If you've been an absolute, and I hate saying this, but if you're a OG viewer, you'd actually probably remember when I fucking died. When I did this when I was like 14 years old. This was one of the first games I ever Let's Played. Oh my god, like with sound and everything and commentary. Pure unadulterated cringe. And no, I'm not doing this as like a way to redeem it or whatever. I mean, it's a shit-ass Let's Play, but it's like, it wasn't even really a Let's Play. I didn't even beat the game. In fact, I played for the whole fucking thing with cheats. As in, I looked up a password to give myself all of the armor pieces and stuff. And to be fair, it does make the game a little more fun, because this game has an infamous balancing issue when it comes to the difficulty. Now, personally, I don't find it all that hard. Now, granted, my opinion is probably tainted by the fact that I can do this. Yeah, I can do that. And, well, I recommend you do it too, especially for this game. Maybe hold back. Oh, you know what? Actually, fuck me, I'm stupid. So, if you can somehow see into my hard drive, this is actually the second time I've recorded this, because I thought I missed the light capsule. I didn't. That's just how the level is designed. There is no light capsule in that section. The light capsule is later on in the level. So anyway, what about the X series as a whole? I mean, we all know. Mega Man X1 is one of the best games of all time. Mega Man X2 is a pretty good sequel. Mega Man X4 is one of the best PlayStation 1 platformers for sure. Mega Man X5 is, well, you know what? I think it's definitely one of the more fascinating games, especially because it was supposed to be the last. X6 was fucking legendary, and you can't tell me otherwise. X7 was just, it has this really cool piece of music. Do. I can't sing it. It's in G. This is in E flat, so it's not gonna fucking. And plus, this song is a little out of tune. Almost every single Super Nintendo composition ever is a tiny bit out of tune because of just the way the Super Nintendo is. It's kind of, the Genesis as well. What was up with like this generation of games having really out of tune music, and not even like relatively out of tune? Like with, for example, the reason why a lot of fucking Atari 2600 music sounds like dick is because composers didn't have they didn't have 12-tone equal temperament to work with. They just had like a pitch that they then just modulate to different amounts, and they just have to hope to get the right note. But here it's like, why? Anyway, I don't care. Also, for some reason, this theme song makes me want to cry, so I skip it every time. It's really fucking scary. I know what it is. It's because there's a delay on the synth, so you get this constant second dissonance. Major, minor, second dissonance between the notes, and it's just the fucking worst. I mean, it's really cool, but it's the fucking worst. Anyway, so where was I? X8 was also pretty decent. I'm really glad they put out the X collection. You know, it has some issues, but whatever. This game has a pretty infamous balancing issue, as I said, as in, some shit is just too hard. Now, I can't really vouch for the difficulty that much, but I do have to say that I always play these games, not just with save states, but I also play these games without fail in the correct boss order, right? Or at least, I'm assuming this is the correct boss order, because Billzard Buffalo over here is not really all that difficult to take down. Oh, speaking of Billzard Buffalo, I can't believe they left that in. I probably have to talk about... Okay, so this game came out very late 1995. What's so special about that? That's because that was after the PlayStation 1 was already out in both Japan and America, right? So you're like, oh, what the fuck? So this is like a last-gen throwback game? Well, I mean, to be fair, the N64 wasn't out at this point. I'm gonna fucking die. Yeah, you see what I was talking about? There you go. The N64 wasn't out at this point, so as far as Nintendo users were concerned, this was still, like, the current gen. And so what they did, though, was they went ahead and betrayed Nintendo, and they put out a I don't know if I want to call it a remake, but like because it's the same fucking game, basically, but it has a new soundtrack. They put out on the PS1 with a new soundtrack, and it's pretty divisive. On one hand, I do like it, because it's the original compositions in actually, like, A440, you know what I mean? So you can actually, like, listen to it and tune your instrument to it and stuff, and, like, you can play along. On the other hand, some of the rearrangements are just absolutely vile. Not Vile. Get it? No, fuck me, I just caught that. But it's like the intro, not the intro, the intro stage theme is just, oh my god, it's cancerous. It's like they turn it into this fucking shuffle or something, like a you know, it's like it's supposed to be this cool ass metal song, right? With these harmonized guitar parts and shit, and they just fucking ruin it. And for some reason, half the time the drums are out of time, and I don't get that either. I know I'm just bitching about the music. What the fuck? Excuse me, you are low health. You should have fucking died right then and there. Ass. Alright, we're gonna do this again. Come on. I've always loved the wall climbing. It's one of my favorite mechanics. It's what separates Mega Man X from the original Mega Man, to me at least, personally. Not anything else, just the wall climbing. What if the classic Mega Man had a wall climb? I don't know. Oh, move! Yes! Got him. The explosions are cool. So anyway, get it? Because it's an ice stage. Actually, that was not intentional. Where was I? Yeah, so they fucking ruined the soundtrack, but they did add these really cool anime cutscenes, to be fair. And they're very well animated. I'm not gonna, like, add them back into this video. You know, I really do love what Clement did, though, with his playthrough. Although, all those years ago, holy shit, that was like a decade and a half ago now, of Mega Man X3, because he actually put the cutscenes from the PS1 version in there, which is pretty neat. But anyway, well, what about the soundtrack here? You know what? I think it's pretty fucking jamming. The compositions aren't... What level am I supposed to do now? Oh, Toxic Seahorse. He's one of my favorites as well. The compositions aren't the most... What would you call them? I guess... no, they have variety, but they're just not super inspired, I guess, in terms of their chord progressions and melodies. But I do think when they lean into the more metal side, and like they work really well. Like this is a fucking awesome track. Really cool. I love that subversion of where you expect the chords to go at that point, you know? There are some tracks that are a little bit, like a lot of the non-stage themes, like for example I always hated the password screen, but that's probably because when I was a kid, again, I would spend hours on that screen trying to fucking type in the right password, you know? Because back then I only had one monitor, obviously, and I didn't think to play the game in fucking windowed mode for some reason, so what I did was I would just keep freaking switching between, like, Google Chrome and, you know, and SNES, I guess it would have been back then. Remember SNES? Fucking nice. Obviously, no one really uses it anymore, but still, when SNES 9X and such exist. I'm actually using Nissan S right now. Why? I don't know. I know SNES 9X is very good. It's just I happen to have the Nissan. I don't think it's supported anymore. Like, it's not being updated, but it still works. I don't think they're coming out with any new Super Nintendos, right, that we would need to keep updating the corresponding emulator for it as well. Not to say anything about any other Nintendo platform. Anyway, the level design of this game is actually not that much different in terms of its overall quality, I'd say, compared to... I don't think it's as imaginative visually. Like, X2, it's not quite as good as X1, but I think X2 is an absolutely gorgeous Super Nintendo game. Like, this game looks pretty good, right? It's kind of dull at times, I'd say. It's detailed, definitely. You can certainly see in some aspects that it's a late Super Nintendo game, even though the original still holds up insanely well. But X2 just had these insane color palettes for its stages, and they were just so beautiful and detailed, and fucking Wheel Gator had a day and night cycle. That was so cool. There's actual level design itself, like as far as how you play through the levels, they're fine. I wouldn't say there's any like dickish level, like enemy placement or insta-kill. I mean, there are insta-kill hazards because that's just how the game works, right? As in, you're always gonna have your Mega Man spikes. And I still hate how the enemies respawn. Look, here's the thing, I understand it's most likely just a limitation of the way this game works. Even though some were able to circumvent it, I don't think it's completely... It's a universal thing. I swear to God, I've played some Super Nintendo and or NES games that don't have respawning enemies, but I imagine it's difficult for that because they would have to probably store in memory the fact that they have been destroyed or something, right? Otherwise, they would just be... Because they probably have, like, these spawn points, because they can't... Obviously, they can't have all of the enemies loaded in at once, because no fucking way. It's like, what, a kilobyte of RAM? So instead what they would do is, you know, just have these spawn points. When you get close to them, it spawns the enemy and just that enemy and maybe a few more, and that's why it slows down when you have too many enemies on screen. And so I guess they just aren't able to afford the memory to remember that you killed the enemy, so it just spawns it again. Obviously, it's not like how newer game engines work, where they're just there, or they just spawn in and become visible at some point. I'm not sure. You know, I guess I could go about optimizing my games that way by just, you know, having the processing on a certain node start only when you get close to it. It wouldn't be too hard to set that. You just put an area enter and stuff like that. But still, it'll actually be a body enter, area 2D node, whatever the fuck. See, here, for example, it would be so much to ask to make the parallax just a little bit. Anyway, whatever, talk about the fucking, the gameplay itself. So you know what, enemies don't do as much damage as I've been led to believe. As you see, that just took only a single bit of my health off. There are some pretty creative sections where you gotta do, like, the platforming has never been the absolute strongest thing about Mega Man X from what I've noticed. Or Mega Man in general. The platforming is very fun in Mega Man X for sure, especially thanks to X's great maneuverability. However, I've never felt that there's anything super specific about any one particular memorable platforming section. It's always been about the combination of the platform section with the enemies within it. If you took out the enemies, it would be probably kind of a dull game, I feel, you know? It definitely wouldn't hold as much appeal. That's why we have these enemies. Just like with classic Mega Man, the platforming has always just been kind of, you know, I always feel like maybe the platforming is actually a little bit better in Classic just because Mega Man has a more limited moveset. Therefore, you are forced to become more creative with how you utilize it, and the developers are forced to become more creative with how they design their levels to make them more consistently interesting. Because again, you often will run into a trap with a game where it's like you have too much shit the player can do, which makes it difficult to make the level fun because you can always circumvent a lot of the design using their maneuverability. I had that problem with the first game I ever made where it was like, I let the player air dash, and I was like, shit, that means that half the platforming is useless. Now I have to come up with ways to stop the player from air dashing over everything. And oftentimes what that really meant was just me putting def blocks everywhere because I'm lazy. No. I don't know, maybe I'll return to the 2D platformer concept at some point. I do love me some 2D platformers, just to, like, I don't know, I kind of want to try making different things just to improve, I guess. It's kind of like how when you start doing anything ever, you first slap shit against the wall until you figure out what exactly you want to do. A cutscene. Oh, look at that thick boy. With the, is that supposed to be a giant ring? I just noticed that's supposed to be a ring on the big guy. I forgot what his name was. Was it Bit and Bite? I thought that was like his hair. I thought he had freaking dreadlocks or something. I mean, this was 1995 after all. Or was it the later half of the 90s when dreadlocks became more popular? I don't know. It depends. Regardless, what the fuck am I even talking about? I'm talking about Mega Man X Free. And yeah, this theme is actually pretty cool. What level we're supposed to do after this? We got like 10 more minutes. It's 7 more minutes. Shit. What do we do with... yes, we have to do Tunnel Rhino now. He's the next guy on the weakness order. I remember, because I always felt that it was really strange that, like, a big rhino dude would be weak to just a little bit of goop. And I know it's acid, essentially, which, like, would destroy anything, pretty much. But I just always... For some reason, that's stuck in my head. This theme, in particular, is definitely one of the less memorable... Like, I can't say, anytime I call a piece of music not memorable, I'm kind of trying to take into account the average listener's appeal, and like the average listener's understanding of what is a memorable piece of music. Because personally, I have a curse. I can never forget any piece of music ever. Like, da-na-na, I noticed. Now it's going to kick into a B section that goes, do-do-do. Listen. Right, I remember that. And then it's going to do a little chromatic thing. Da-na. I haven't played this game in a very long time, but I remember that. I remember so much shit, you know? Okay, no, I guess there are certain kinds of compositions that I do find less memorable than others. But anyway, where was I? Yeah, visually the stage is like kind of... I do love those weird, like, egg-like things in the background. You see, or the crystals. Yeah, they're crystals. I've always loved the way those look. The way they change palettes. It's really subtle. But overall, what was it? Hold on, yeah, this game also brought back, one thing at a time, this game also brought back a mechanic from Mega Man X1, which I'm probably not going to be showing off in this video. I'm probably not going to play enough to be able to show it off, and it's the fact that when you beat a certain Maverick, it affects the way a different level looks and plays as well. I think X1 did it way better because it was just a little more obvious, and honestly, I literally don't even know what Flame Mammoth stage looks like without having beaten, I think it was Chill Penguin, because everyone beats Chill Penguin first, right? Chill Penguin is the first guy you take on. Maybe because he's technically optional until the end, you know, if you want to, because of the non-linear structure, I imagine that it is are we going to be fighting anyone? No, okay. Yeah, because there's this random element where one of those two dudes we saw earlier will show up and try and fight you. But anyway, technically it is possible to go through most of Mega Man X1 without ever getting the boots, right? The dash upgrade. It's just, God, how? Imagine playing through Mega Man X1 without the dash. Like, you're gonna need it because, again, it's like an unavoidable part of that stage because the developers knew that's just it's a core concept to their game. They literally, you can't play the game without it. In fact, they made it just a built-in thing from that point on. But it makes me wonder, like, you think someone's figured out how to glitch their way past that section and beat the whole game without the upgrade? I don't know. I'm curious now. Maybe I should look that up. Like, Mega Man X1 no armor playthrough, no armor percent. I don't know. That'd be interesting because, like, here, for example, yeah, it would be hard as fuck if you chose to do it that way, but I don't think there's really anything stopping you from playing through the whole game without getting a single armor piece. In fact, I'm probably gonna miss, if I were to keep playing right now, I would definitely miss most of them because I just don't know where they are. I know where this piece is. They always make the leg piece the easiest to get for some reason. But other than that, this is like, yes, this is, I cannot believe who designed this. It's a giant dick man. It's like, what the fuck? Why? It's like, yes, I'm going to fucking penetrate this door. Anyway, so, as for the weapon piece, the armor pieces in this game, I do think the concept of the final one that you get, I don't care about spoiling. So basically, there's an armor piece in this game you get by the end of the game that is like it's more of like a chip that combines the properties of different additional upgrades. So you can actually, I don't know how this works, I've never done it in this game, but I know that there are additional, like, extra upgrade chips, basically. So, for example, you can air dash twice, or you can regen more health in certain ways, you take less damage, stuff like that. And basically there's this golden armor or something. Yeah, I think it was like this golden armor that combines all of the qualities of those things. You can also get Zero's... Oh, holy shit. You know what? I should probably... Let me just show you. Come on. X. I'm on my way. Okay. I can't do the voice if it doesn't X. There, you can play as Zero. I totally forgot to even show... I'm gonna show it now for 2 minutes to go. But okay, no. I can go on as long as I want, really. But still, so basically, as you can see, Zero is kind of like your... Here, I have a theory. I have game theory. So, it's possible that maybe they added Zero later into development because they maybe figured that, this game's hard as shit. We should give the players, like, some kind of way to alleviate some of the challenge, at least temporarily, while they're still making X better. And so, let's give them Zero. Cool. Zero's like the cooler older brother, you know what I mean? Did I just say it like that? Older, like without the D? The cooler older brother of X, you get what I mean? And later on it goes into some weird shit in the later games, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Point is, though, it would make sense to have us play as him, but fuck. We don't have time to make special powers for him as well when you beat the Mavericks, so how about we just make it so he can't fight the Mavericks, right? That sounds like, oh, fuck you, respawning enemies. Jesus Christ. Fuck it, I'm just gonna take the damage, honestly. There you go. Right? Because this game was, not only was it not handled by the main development studio that did the other two, this game was outsourced, actually. But it also seems to have been rushed. Like, it feels kind of rushed in some aspects. Even though the sprite work for Zero here is very well done, I don't feel like you know, because... to be fair, though, that kind of stuff is quite heavily prioritized to make sure that the game is presentable. You know, ever notice how games, even kind of shitty games, will still look pretty good, you know? But this is, I think Mega Man X3 is actually significantly better than a lot of people have given it credit for. Is it like the bottom. Is it in the lower tier of Mega Man X games? I definitely would put this game above X5, even though I like X5 a lot. If I had to make like a tier list, let's just keep moving. He's gonna be like, oh, X, I can't. No, actually, Zero. X is the one who doesn't want you doing it. He's like, I'll handle this. I have like 2 units of health, but I can do this. Well, it's actually fine because we have the special weapons, so we'll take him out easily. But anyway, if I had to make like a tier list of like my favorite X games, I guess it would be like, you know what? I almost want to say that X4 might be my favorite. But no, X1. X1 is just awesome. X1, then it would be X4. Then, fuck it. I'd put X6 just because it's not only is it kind of just a legendarily infamous oh, fuck you. Now I'm going to have to... Well, I guess that's my own fault. But at least I didn't waste any of the weapon ammo, but whatever. Not only is it a legendary game, it's like Sonic 06. I can't hate Sonic 06, for example. Not because it's a Sonic game, but just because of the amount of memories it's brought me when it comes to not even playing it. I did not play the game until I had a computer powerful enough to emulate it, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? And I know that there's an unofficial PC version, but that was a little bit before I think the PC version became like to that point of being playable fully, or at least because now it's like basically complete, right? It's very late into its development and is very polished. But anyway, I'm talking about a little bit before that. God, fucking trying to. Oh, I didn't even save a state at that point, which means that I'm gonna go all the way back there. Regardless, this fight really isn't that hard. You just have to not be on the wall when he does that because he knocks you off the wall, and sometimes you can't air dash for some reason because they decided. Then right out underneath X6, I guess I would put like also I just find the game kind of fun. I don't know. Underneath X6 I'd probably put X2. Yeah, X2. No, X8. No, X2. Then X8. X7 is easily bottom tier, like, right, like fucking, I guess Command Mission is, I don't know, Command Mission doesn't even count for me personally, but X2, X7 is easily the worst one, alright? Like, not even fucking close. Because it's so boring. It's not even, like, offensively broken or unpolished. In some ways it is unpolished. And not even the soundtrack is all that great, honestly. Like, there's just so little inherently redeeming about the game. And it really just... And it's not even because, oh, Mega Man doesn't work in 3D. Well, actually, admittedly, as much as I despise the whole this thing doesn't work in 3D, because as a Sonic guy, that gives me that fucking trauma triggers me. It's just like, why do you say that? But anyway, but it's actually true. Like, I can't really think of a good way to do a shooter-based platformer in 3D in a way that doesn't compromise either the platforming or the shooting. I do genuinely believe that the 2D plane is just ultimately the most optimal way to make a game of this kind. And it really is unfortunate that just there's these inherent limitations, ironically, of 3 dimensions in that way. Because what, it's like you make it so they lock on, but then the shooting is boring. So what do you do to compensate? If you make the shooting more accurate, or at least require more accuracy, you're going to have to tone down the platforming. So what the hell are you doing, right? Unless you just make it fucking Gears of War. I don't know. Anyway, that's probably going to ramble about that in some other video. But anyway, this has been Focus on B, the video series where I spent about, as you can see, 20 or so minutes, 23 in this case, playing and talking about a game that I actually, in this case, really, really like. And I'm not taking it back. This is Mega Man X Free, Super Nintendo, 1995.